So we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence, please. Barbara, would you call the roll?
Akinwande. Mr. Bonnet. Mr. Campbell. Mr. Denard.
Here.
Ms. Gottlieb.
Here.
Ms. Graham. Ms. O'Neill.
Here.
Dr. Yaros Ramos.
Here.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Here.
We have a quorum.
This is a regular meeting of the Glenridge Board of Education. Adequate notice of this meeting, location, and time has been provided, and that this board notified the Glenridge paper and the Star Ledger on December 8th, 2023. Said notice was published in the Star Ledger on December 13th, 2023, and the Glenridge paper on December 21st, 2023. The date, time, and location of this meeting were also emailed to all recipients of the annual schedule of the board's meetings. The board met tonight in executive session. We're now ready to go ahead with the public portion of our meeting. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us online tonight. We're holding this meeting virtually in response to the snowy weather situation that caused today's school closure. After consultation with our attorney, we determined that a virtual meeting would provide the best combination of accessibility and safety for all participants. For written communications, we've had no written communications since our last meeting on January 23rd. The President's report. First of all, I want to remember in your thoughts our colleague Anthony Bonnet, who's not with us tonight because he is away attending the funeral of his aunt who passed away recently. And also keep the Masso family in your thoughts. Three Masso children graduated Glenridge High School, I believe. Their grandfather, James Masso, with whom they lived in Glenridge, passed away recently. Some of you may remember Rita Masso, who was a standout soccer player for Glenridge. So keep the Masso family also in your thoughts. I want to give you an update on the superintendent search. We are on schedule. The Personnel Committee reviewed 60 applications, resumes, and cover letters, and invited 19 applicants for the first round interviews. 18 of those were interviewed. Out of the 18, the committee selected 9 candidates for second round interviews. 8 of those candidates agreed to participate in the second round process. The committee is halfway through the interviews with that group. Our intent is to end the second round with 2 or 3 finalists who will be interviewed by the full board. We're also seeking targeted feedback from representatives of the faculty and representatives of the various liaison groups whose names appear on the BOE agendas. Those sessions, moderated by our attorney, Ms. Osborne, who's with us tonight, will take place on February 21st and 22nd. And finally, we were scheduled to meet with the town council on Friday, but that had to be postponed, so we will be meeting with them on the 23rd. And that is the President's report. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Betsy. I first want to thank the Glenridge Education Foundation. We've been working with them to fund a primary SEL program. The 3 principals at the primary schools and their guidance counselor went to a program last roughly about a year ago and fell in love with it. It's an intense program called Capturing Kids' Hearts. And it involves training the entire staff in the building. It's not one of those one workshops and they're done. They're going to be intensive training for a 2-year time period. And with that, there was a hefty bill, and the foundation has agreed to fund that project, and the cost is coming just under $85,000. So very generous of them, and we're excited to bring it to Glenridge. And I know the primary principals are ecstatic about it. I do have a couple of teacher recognition. Shihang Zhang is receiving the Excellent Award from the Suburban Essex Chamber of Commerce for her dedication to the students and her contributions to Chinese education. So she will miss actually the dinner because she'll be, as she always is, with the students. She will be on chaperoning a trip to China at that time. And Maria DeCipris has been accepted to participate in the Gen Ec Teacher Fellowship Program, which will be held in Armenia this summer. And she is one of 15 teachers nationwide to be accepted into the program. We had some students who were busy since our last Board of Ed meeting. Mr. Majewski took 4 teams, 11 students down to Washington, D.C. to participate in the Middle School History Club academic program, the Geography Nationals. And one of his top team went 7-1, losing in the championship match. So I'll take an opportunity in a future board meeting to invite those students in so we can recognize them. We also had 3 students who were awarded, received awards for the Essex County Education Association Pride Essay. Boaz Cheney, a first grader at Central, placed second. Benjamin Reiner, who's at Linden Avenue School and in second grade, took 3rd place. And at the high school, Finn Peterson, a 7th grader, also took 2nd place. So we're very happy about that. Sharing the Arts had their program last month. We were hoping to have them here today. Some of the of that program to talk about what they actually do. So we're going to reschedule them for another board meeting. And I want to congratulate 9th grader Jude Rothman, who auditioned last weekend and earned a spot in the New Jersey Region 1 concert band. Not only did he earn a spot, he earned the first chair, which is quite an accomplishment. We have not had someone in the North Jersey regional band for prior to COVID. So it's great when our students are able to achieve being in that program. As far as things are upcoming, we are in the heavy midst of the budget process. At the March 5th meeting, our next Board of Ed meeting, we'll be presenting the tentative budget for the 24-25 school year. For those who are interested, the budget calendar is on our website, and you can get a little more understanding of the budget process. Upcoming events, besides today being a short snow day, emergency day, it is a short week to begin with. Students will be dismissed early on Thursday. Staff will have a professional day in the afternoon, and the schools will be closed on Friday. Monday's a holiday, so the entire district is closed. And then Tuesday, the schools are also for the winter break. Coming up down the road, late February, early March is Read Across America events of Ridgewood Avenues, holding their grade level spelling bees, and the high school is in the midst of their scheduling process. I also want to mention at the next Board of Ed meeting, we will be recognizing the Governor's Education of the Year recipients in our district. So we'll send out a general to our entire school community if they want to come in and support and recognize those teachers who are the recipients of the award this year. And that's my report.
Okay. I seem to be frozen. You can all hear me still?
Yes.
Okay. We've now come to the public comment period. But first, Dirk, I know that you had the Sharing the Arts Showcase. I presume that will be postponed until the next meeting?
We'll reschedule it. I'll have to talk to the advisor to see when they're able to make it.
Okay. It's now time for public comments on agenda items only. Obviously, since we're online, our protocols are a little bit different than normal. But if you, members of the audience, if you have a public comment or question, please unmute yourself, identify yourself, confirm your Glen Ridge residence. The same time limit of 2 minutes applies. And if you have several questions, please say them all at once and we'll try to answer them in the order that you've made them. Does anyone have a public question or comment?
Betsy, I think they have to raise their hand. I don't
I'm
think
sorry,
have
they
the
should
ability
raise their
to unmute
hands.
themselves.
And I'm looking at the list, so raise your hands if you have a public comment. I don't see any raised hands. Does anyone see any raised hands?
Not at this time, no.
Nope. All right. Well, we have a second public comment period later in the meeting. With that, it is the first meeting of the month. So let's start with committee and liaison reports. Let's start with Dylan O'Neill, who is our student representative.
Hi, yes. So we have had a very successful week with our high school sports teams, with our girls swimming team advancing to the sectional final. I believe that match is coming up within the next week, along with our hockey team, who won last night, is advancing to their conference final, which I believe is on Thursday night. And our girls basketball team had an extremely successful senior night that took place last night as well. Along with that, our student council is working towards hosting another faculty versus student event. Not exactly sure what that's going to look like just yet, but we're aiming for post-winter sports season and pre-spring sports season so we can fit that in and have a great time. And then everybody is extremely thankful for the snow day today. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. And we're all very excited for the long weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan. And now we'll have committee and liaison reports. I'll just call on you in the order that I see you on my screen. That would mean, Tricia, you're going first.
Okay. So high school HSA meeting was on January 26th. On that date, the marking period closed. So as Dirk said, we're into the second period, and actually the students are going through the process of choosing their classes for next year. So class meetings will be taking place with their guidance counselors, with the administrations, and the program leaders. Mr. Phoenix's leadership program, in which he instituted this year, is going very well. They had their first speaker, and their next speaker was scheduled to be on February 7th. So I guess that was last week. I'm sure it was a success. There was a lot of good feedback. Actually, one of the moms, one of the parents who's on the HSA board said that her son is in it, and she was quite impressed that her son was able to articulate very well and talk about the program. So that seems to be doing very well, that program. And it's, again, that's separate from the peer leadership program. It's a new program Mr. Phoenix started. It was initially geared towards just junior and seniors, but now I heard that even some freshmen have attended as well. For the middle school, Mrs. Odell Pinkert, I hope I'm saying her name right. She gave us a great update. They're working on different focus groups on, talking with 7th graders and 8th graders, different topics of snitching versus advocating, identifying a trusted adult in the building that they can speak to, appropriate versus inappropriate language. What they're doing is different. Her and the guidance counselors are doing different focus groups with the middle school kids to help them navigate middle school. So that seems to be doing very well. February 12th was Kindness Week, in which Student Council was leading. And then she spoke about the 8th grade end of year class trip, which is to Darney Park. Then Mr. Hill gave an update on all of the athletics. As Dylan mentioned, the girls swimming team was did very well. The wrestling team placed in one of the tournaments. There was an ice hockey game that night. The band had a show that last month, which was phenomenal. And he also mentioned the Memorial Soccer Tournament that they did, which the HSA treasurer said that $1,700 was raised for that scholarship fund, which was just absolutely phenomenal in memory of our dearly beloved prior student. And the Garden Club is working on the grounds within the high school, which the HSA was able to donate $300 to them. Project graduation theme is Despicable Me. Arts and Eco Fair, it's upcoming. Please put that on your calendar for May. And April 4th is the middle school parent night out. And a golf outing is coming soon. And there was a huge thank you for everyone who participated in the holiday market. And that's it for the middle school, high school liaison report.
Thank you. Duval.
I have a lot of reports tonight.
Okay.
I'll try to go through them quickly. First, David asked me to report out on finance. And we talked about this a little bit already. We met on the 19th of January. We went over the potential changes to the upcoming budget for 24-25. And we reviewed program improvement requests. So not too many specifics that anyone can share right now, except that to remind everyone that our budget calendar is on our website. And the big date coming up will be February 29th, where we hope to get our state aid numbers. And then after that, March 5th, we'll have our tentative budget presented at our board meeting. And then the next meeting after that will be the public hearing and adoption, which will be in April. That'll be April 30th. Maybe there's a meeting in between that, but that's the timeline for that. And then the next committee meeting communication committee meeting update that we have. That meeting was on February 6th. We talked a little bit about one of our big board goals, which is to create an onboarding manual. So we discussed some of the items that we might include in that. And also to the group, I want to encourage anyone who has thoughts for what we might include in that manual to please submit them to me or to other members of the committee. We talked about including critical policies, acronyms, the pointer sheet on HIB that Jen has graciously shared with us, just so that we can keep everything in one place. So we're pulling that together. We also talked a little bit about our mini retreats. That's another one of our board goals. And we decided that, we didn't decide, but we discussed that it may be better to table some of those ideas until we have a new superintendent in place. So not that anyone's forgotten, and we're still looking at different topics, or considering other topics for mini retreats, but we might just want to, put that on hold for a little bit until we have our new superintendent. We also talked about new avenues of outreach and community outreach, like we do with our coffee and conversation. One of the ideas that had come up was having more members attend a home and school meeting, for example. So I will be sending around a calendar of, if you can see it, of all the home and school meetings, or you can't see it anyway, coming up, and maybe we can get a few people to come along to the next Forest Avenue or the Central School or wherever. And so that was it. That's it for communications. Moving on to, speaking of Forest Avenue School, they had their home and school meeting on January 29th. It was the first time they had met since November. So it was a pretty big, substantial meeting. And I won't go over everything, but there were it was really good stuff that did happen. Primarily, a lot of the meeting was dedicated to a presentation for this will be a fundraising ask, but Forest Avenue wants to do a new, will revitalize the Stella Kincaid Bird Sanctuary, which was first put in the 1940s. And it has become so overgrown and sort of lost to time. They're going to revitalize that and revamp the learning garden as a pollinator garden. One of the parents is a landscape designer and presented a whole plan with native plants, a new patio seating, bird feeders with live stream into the classroom, just lots of different ways to incorporate nature into the classroom, as well as one of the other goals is to combine technology and nature and bring it to the students. So they're talking about having bird feeders that are actually in the windows of the classrooms and that have live feeds on them so that the students can be watching the activity of the birds all year round. So that sounds to me like a lot of fun. In other news, Mr. Murphy noted that there are new touchscreen Chromebooks that have been delivered and they're being set up in the multipurpose room. They have a whole STEAM corner dedicated. Around the grounds, 2 of the big oak trees in the back by the playground have had to come down because they were diseased. The borough also took down another large tree out in front of the school. So things will look a little different, but I think with the activity around the learning garden, that will be offset a little bit with some new trees and vegetation. And they were at the time looking forward to the 100th day of school coming up, and I believe that's happened just the other day. But the kids were getting ready for a fashion show where they were dressing up as if they were 100 years old, which sounded quite fun and a new twist on, thinking about yourself in the future for the 100th day activities. So those are just some of the highlights for Forest Avenue School. And then their next meeting is again not until March, I believe. Let's see. And then my last report is from the Educational Foundation. And Dirk, thank you for talking a little bit about capturing kids' hearts. The foundation also wants to thank the principals who brought the idea to them, particularly to acknowledge their commitment and dedication to really focusing on the social emotional development of our children. We're the foundation is really excited to be able to fund this, and a big shout out to Dr. Harris, to Mr. Murphy and Dr. Caravella. Also, the foundation in their meeting on February 6th was a big day, also funded 2 mini grants. So I just want to do a little call out to Mrs. Percello for she will be has a program called Ethical and Inclusive Dissections with Science-Structables. And a Science-Structable is like a model where you can dissect over and over. Aaron Goldstein has a program for African drumming that tells a story, which is how cultural drumming can teach diversity, story comprehension, patterning, precision counting, fine motor skills, all in the elementary classroom. And then 2 expanded innovation grants were awarded to Jerry White for a reading incentive bookstore at RAS to encourage voluntary reading, and to Lara Boss for decodable text at RAS. And those materials will support the Orton Gillingham initiative. So the foundation is very excited to be able to bring all of that. We are very excited to have it. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Duval. Heather, you're up next.
Sure. The curriculum committee met at the beginning of February. We got an update on science, which is undergoing curriculum review. We also heard about what you all have heard about already, Capturing Hearts, the SEL training program for staff and faculty at the elementary schools, and heard a little bit about what Ridgewood and the high school would like to do similarly, that they have begun looking at as well. Theirs is called collaborative problem solving. We also heard about a new state requirement for multilingual language learners and how we have to develop a plan to address that, to meet the new standards, and then a proposal, which we also thought was a good idea, to use option 2 at the high school that would be able to satisfy 21st century standards, which is a high school requirement. And that was pretty much it for the curriculum.
Okay. Jocelyn, you're up next.
So first committee update on negotiations. We are going to be beginning our conversation with the administrators on the 27th to discuss their contract, which expires at the end of June. And then the Grace update is just that the next Grace meeting will be a virtual meeting on Wednesday, March 13th from 7 to 8:30, and that link will be sent out in advance. And then Ridgewood Home and School Association did not meet. Their last meeting was January 5th, but I received an update from the executive team. And firstly, their next meeting will be held on March 1st at 9 a.m. And that will be the meeting where they will be discussing open positions for next year, among other topics. And then just to capture what's been happening at Ridgewood in the last month and a half since their last HSA meeting. The 5th graders had a visitor from the Right Stuff to talk about the writing process. Seussical the Musical held auditions and is now in rehearsals. They're working on further updates to the courtyard with a plan for a legacy brick sale in the spring. The TREP sign out sold out in 2 minutes, and the class begins February 21st. The marketplace will be on April 3rd if you want to mark your calendars for that. 6th grade project graduation is running fundraisers this week, and Valentine's Day baskets will be delivered tomorrow to all of the police department, crossing guards, and other people within Ridgewood. And there's also going to be a special treat for staff. Book fair is coming up in March, and New Jersey Devils Night Out is March 23rd. So that's kind of a recap for them.
Thank you. Kristen.
I just have a few notes about Gaslamp Players. They wrapped up their production of The Sound of Music this past weekend. If anyone had a chance to go see it, I hope you'll agree with me that it was absolutely fantastic. I saw it on Friday. It was very hard not to sing along with all of the songs, and it really is just incredible that we have, not only the talent from the broader communities around Glen Ridge, but also so much local talent. We had students in the play and they were just fantastic. So congratulations to everybody involved with that production. Next up will be for Gaslamp will be the Spring Kids Workshop. They're presenting Annie the Kids version that's focusing on students in grades 1st through 4th. Those performances will start in early May, and then they've just, I think, either begun or concluded registration for the summer junior camp, which the focus of that will be Shrek the Musical. So lots going on with Gaslamp. The Glen Ridge Visual Arts, I don't think I gave an update at the last Board of Ed meeting, but they did have a terrific event with the holiday market. They came and did face painting at the holiday market. That's to help raise money for scholarship for art students. You'll next see students with the visual arts program at the Arts and Eco Fair, which is happening on May 18th. And then, of course, their big finish will be with the Advanced Students Art Show at the Women's Club, which I think traditionally happens at the end of April. I don't have that date, but that's always amazing to go see. And I'll be sure to share those details when they are available.
Thanks, Kristen. And with regard to the Sound of Music, the Personnel Committee was treated to David Campbell, chair, in his Sound of Music costumes for our interviews. It was, we were gratified, and I think our candidates were amused as well. Darius, any report?
Yep. Thank you, Betsy. For the Central Home and School, they had their regular meeting on January 25th. So just some brief highlights. The winter session discovery program kicked off for February, and it's going to be running for 4 weeks. They have lunch programming for all 5 days, with parents given the option to sign up for the specific days, the specific days they want to. The Learning Garden received brand new donations for new planters, and the Home and School was looking for compost or soil donations in preparation for the growing season. The book fair is on March 12th. The community service group of the Home and School was looking at a program to potentially create cards for hospitalized children. Parents came to the school, I think maybe last week, to help celebrate the Lunar New Year. And just one date to save for your calendars, Saturday, March 16th, for the Central Home and School 2GP fundraiser slash parents night out, featuring a some parents performing at the Glenridge train station. And just to conclude, the next Central Home and School meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 29th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you.
That's it.
I am between meetings. The the Linden Avenue Home and School meets on the 28th, and the GRDIA is now meeting quarterly. So that coming up in the next quarter, they'll have another meeting. In between times, they are meeting their various committees. So presumably sometime in March or so, I will have a report from them. So that is all the committee and liaison reports. Let's go on to our routine business. In your package, you have minutes from the exec session and regular session from January 23rd. Does anybody have any corrections to those minutes? Okay, that being the case, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Do we have a motion? If we do,
I'm
motion?
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
May I have a Jocelyn, would you move the minutes?
Or I'll move M1.
And may I have a second?
Second from
Second.
Darius.
Second from Darius. Okay. Now, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Ms. Akinwande,
Aye.
Mr. Denard,
Yes.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Yes.
Ms. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving on to the personnel items. Jocelyn, would you move personnel?
So I'd like to move items P1 through P11.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second from
Second from
Kristen.
Darius. Oh,
Second from Kristen.
Jinx.
In keeping with our rules and the board members' code of ethics, personnel items are discussed in exec session. That being the case, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Ms. Akinwande,
Aye.
Mr. Denard,
yes.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Yes.
Ms. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, going on to the curriculum items. Heather, would you move the curriculum items?
Sure, I move C1.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second,
Second, I saw Duval's hand first. Okay, second from Duval. Any comment on the curriculum item, which is some field trips?
I'm just happy to see that they're still going to Sandy Hook because that's such a fun field trip. So happy to vote in favor of that.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it. Any other comment on the curriculum items? All right, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Ms. Akamwande,
aye.
Mr. Denard,
Yes.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Yes.
Ms. Graham,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes. Moving on to the business items, I want to draw your attention to the donations listed under B3. We've already mentioned the donations from the Glenridge Education Foundation, but it is certainly impossible to thank them enough for their contributions, these contributions, and also all their contributions. So thank you to Fran Wong and the board of the foundation. Also, thank you to the Linden Avenue Home and School Association for a monetary donation of $6,200 for 25 Chromebooks. Also, two more of the aforementioned mini grants and Smart Executive Function Program from the Glenridge Education Foundation. So a total of three big item donations from them, from Glenridge Education Foundation, and one from Linden Avenue Home and School. Thanks to all. And now, let's see, who should move business? May I have a motion for the business items? From Duval. Thank
Yes.
you, Duval. May I have a second? From Heather. Okay, any questions or comments on the business items? Okay, that being the case, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Ms. Akamwande,
Aye.
Mr. Denard,
Yes.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Yes.
Ms. Graham,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we've come now to the second public comment period for comments or questions on agenda or other items pertaining to the running of the schools. If you have a question or comment, please raise your hands. All the same protocols apply. Does anyone have a question or comment?
Actually, I had forgotten a minute ago when I could have asked it before. Can you explain a little bit about, or just enlighten us about the ROD grant process?
So, first, the county approved our ROD grants a few weeks back. And then this past week, we just got our approval from the School Development Authority. And along with that approval, they sent a grant agreement package with a list of items that we need to submit to them in order for them to sign off on the grant agreement. And two of those items were the motions that are in tonight's agenda. So once I gather all those items and send them back and they send it back signed, then we're permitted to go out to bid for our two projects, which is the rooftop unit in the cafeteria at the high school and the roof over the cafeteria at the high school.
And
Okay.
just for those in the audience for whom acronyms are a challenge, ROD stands for Regular Operating District, which they are a category of grants that go to districts that are not among those high poverty, high needs districts that are defined as SDA districts, School Development Authority districts. Any other from the audience, any other questions or comments from our audience?
You know what? I want to piggyback off of Duval's question. Just, Barbara, you said that part of the grant was for the cafeteria rooftop, and then you said rooftop unit. What is that?
The air conditioning unit.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, audience members, any questions or comments? I don't see any hands. Last chance.
I just want to tell Dylan O'Neill he did a great job with the snow call this morning or yesterday. That was Dylan O'Neill's voice. So I just wanted to say that.
I thought that was you.
Thank you, Dylan, voice of the people.
Thank you.
That's great. Audience, any questions or comments? Okay, quiet audience tonight. That being the case, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Moved by Heather. May I have a second?
Second from Kristen.
Second from, my God, Duval, just right before you, Kristen. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Have a good evening. Thank you.